This is a short video on how to work a Kitchener stitch for finishing off the toe of a sock. I do it a little bit differently so that you don't end up with little dog ears on the corners of your sock. And what that, in order to achieve that, we skip the setup for working the Kitchener stitch and the finishing off, so that we have a half stitch at the beginning and end, and it creates more of a rounded curve on the tip of your toe. So you usually work down to whatever the stitch number is that you want for your Kitchener stitch. In this case, I have 8 stitches on each needle. You want the same number of stitches on each needle. You can work down to 8, 7, 6, 9. If you have an odd number, it's okay. I happen to have an even number. It really doesn't matter, just as long as you have the same number of stitches on the front needle and the back needle. You want to have a piece of working yarn about 6 or 8 inches long, and you'll thread that onto a tapestry needle. I use, when working with finer weight yarn, like fingering, when you're working with socks, I use a smaller tapestry needle. I don't use that great big giant needle that most people use for working darning or weaving in of ends in yarn. So we have our tapestry needle and it's threaded. This is the method, and you use the same method all the way across. You put your tapestry needle through the first stitch on the front needle. Notice the yarn's coming from the back needle, by the way, right there. So you go through the front needle as if to knit, slide the stitch off the tip of the needle, turn, and go through the next stitch as if to purl, and pull the yarn through. And I give it a little tug. Then you move to the back needle, keeping the yarn under the tips of the needles, and you go through the first stitch as if to purl, sliding it off the tip of the needle, and then turning the tapestry needle and going under the next stitch as if to knit, leaving it on the knitting needle and pulling the yarn tight. Bring the yarn to the front underneath the tips of the needles. Go through the first stitch on the front needle as if to knit, slipping the stitch off the needle, turn the tapestry needle, go through the next stitch as if to purl. Pull the yarn tight. Going underneath the knitting needles, go through the first stitch on the back as if to purl, taking it off, go through the next stitch as if to knit, leaving it on and pulling the yarn through, being sure that it's going underneath the knitting needles. So I make a little mantra that I say to myself. I say on the front needle, knit off, purl on. The back needle, purl off, knit on. So the front needle is the knit first and the back needle is purl first. See how that first stitch makes a nice smooth curve there? There's no little dog ear sticking up. Now front needle, knit off, purl on, back needle, purl off, knit on, front needle, knit off, purl on, back needle, purl off, knit on, front needle, knit off, purl on. We're coming up to the last stitches here. Back needle, purl off, knit on. We have 2 stitches left on each needle. Back stitch, knit off, purl on, back stitch, purl off, knit on. Now you've got 1 stitch left on each needle. Traditionally, you would go through those one more time, but we're not going to. We're just going to slip the needles off. This is to prevent that dog ear. Now you're going to snug this up a little bit You turn your toe and you open it up and you look where the yarn's coming out. And see the stitch that it's pulling up right there, that last one it went through? You're going to go down in the tip of the sock. See where the yarn's coming through that loop? You're going to go down right on the other side of that loop. Right here. Right here on the other side of the loop. Take the darning needle down to the inside of the sock and give it a little tug. Now, there's our toe. Nice and rounded, looks perfect, no dog ears. Now, weaving in the end for the tail on the inside, you have to determine which part of the toe is going to be the top of the foot and which is going to be the underside. You want to, let's say this is the top, this is the underside, the walking side, where you step on the ground. You want to weave the toe in, the tail in on this side so that when you walk you don't feel that little extra thickness. So we're going to turn the sock inside out, and now we're going to weave in the end on the toe, upper toe side. We look at these little purl bumps on the back. We're going to pick one that looks like a frown. See, there's smiles, there's a smile, 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 smile. There's a frown, frown, frown. We're going to go in a frown and up through this diagonal smile. And then we're going to go down through the smile right next to it and through the same frown that we started with, which is right here. So we made a little duplicate stitch. Then we're going to go up in the next frown over. It's here. And we're going to go up in this smile here. Then we're going to go down in the next smile and through the same frown. One more time, we're going to go through a frown, same smile. This is just doing a duplicate stitch. The frown, and smile. Pull it through. We've done 3 now. We just pull the yarn through, clip this, leaving a short little tail, turn it over. You cannot see where the ends were woven in. Can't really feel it, but it's better to have it on the top than the bottom. This will not pull out when you stretch the yarn, stretch the fabric. These stitches have the same elasticity as the fabric and it won't work out. So there you go, nice little toe.